YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today we got our NFL awards based on the regular season, 2020 regular season. About to start that wild card weekend. That starts tomorrow. We'll have you covered live on Twitter for those games, and we'll recap it on Monday. Full playoff coverage, full NFL coverage here. But we got our awards today. I have all my picks, and I have your guys' picks, the fans' picks, which were voted for on Twitter. So if you're not following that Twitter, definitely recommend following it. If you don't have one, I'd recommend making one at Goathouse NFL. There's a link down below, description comments for that, as well as anything else that you need. Underneath me, you see that side app. You debate football, kind of like you do in the comment section here, but there's polls as well, and you win Amazon gift card just by getting likes, and it's very cool. So check it out. Go ahead and subscribe. Full NFL coverage here, even in the offseason, so a subscription would be much appreciated there. Let's go to MVP. My pick, the fans' pick, looking exactly the same, so we're on the same page here. And you see the poll voted by the fans down below Rodgers there, and it's a pretty big win there for Aaron Rodgers. I thought it was close. I thought it would be a little closer. I thought it was closer than maybe some people make it seem, but yeah, I didn't really have to think too much about it. It was a little closer, I guess, a couple weeks ago. There's definitely a debate for Josh Allen. He got more votes than Patrick Mahomes. There's definitely a debate for both of those guys. You know, they don't have much of a run game to rely on. So, and the way they're able to, throw the ball, the amount of times they do a game, just sling it across the field. Rodgers does some similar things as well. But, you can see the knowledge while you watch him play. You can just see picking up defenses, picking up coverages, blitzes. He does it better than anybody. He's been doing it pretty much better than anybody for a long time. So, and taking the next step. Last year, the Packers were actually more of a defensive team, and they went to the NFC Championship game. And the question was, can they get their offense going? Is it declining? And then somehow, Rodgers makes it better. And people get on him for the lack of receivers they have outside Devonta Adams, and he's still able to overcome that. So, yeah, I think it's Rodgers here. I do think it was really tight a few weeks ago, like between all four of the guys that were in the poll. I mean, you could definitely debate Derrick Henry too. I mean, take Derrick Henry away from the Titans. I mean, you got some problems. I know Tannehill's been great. He's been, distributing the ball to some good receivers as well. But Derrick Henry just the ultimate factor, forcing teams to stack the box and just dominating, having game-winning runs pretty much. So definitely can debate him as well. And there's very valuable players across the NFL for teams. So, but myself and the fans, we are on the same page. Interesting one, defense. I can't believe Aaron Donald's not up here between my pick and the fans' pick. I'm actually going Jalen Ramsey. I'm surprised the fans didn't go Aaron Donald, to be quite honest. He was second, 28.2%. Maybe I'm crazy, but when I'm thinking defensive player of the year, I'm almost thinking the top three corners are towards the top of defensive potty, apparently, POTY player of the year. Graphics guy getting cute with that one, but I like the top three corners in the NFL. They had an elite season, all three of them, with Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, and Jair Alexander. Ramsey and Alexander more the lockdown types. Xavier Howard had a ridiculous playmaking season, getting his hands on the ball like crazy. Ramsey, when I watch a lot of football. I watch Ramsey, and it's just so impressive. It's so impressive. Just the full, complete cornerback. I mean, there's not a flaw to his game, allowing only 20 yards per game. Ridiculous. Taking away a team's top receiver week after week. Some damn good ones, too, without any help whatsoever. Just everyone else focus on the other side, make the quarterbacks throw it to the other side, and that creates a guy, some other corners, some other defensive backs in the Rams to improve their game, because Ramsey has got the other side locked down by himself. And, I mean, what's underrated is the ability to come up and tackle, fly up and tackle, not just wait for guys. There's such a tackling problem. There's a tackling problem in general in the NFL, I think, today's game. But with corners, and not with Ramsey. Ramsey will fly up and he'll hit you. He'll take you down. If a lot of corners kind of get pushed over and then it results in a first down, not Jalen Ramsey. Just every part of his game, be able to run different coverages, pressing at the line at a high level, being able to attack the ball, but just being feared too. I think the lockdown corner is very underrated. In NFL history, it is. People always go by interceptions. Interceptions are, getting the ball back for your team is huge, of course. But just these lockdown guys that make offenses, all right, let's go away from him. They're scared. These guys these guys are something. So I thought Jalen Ramsey. Another thing is, which you could use as a debate for pass rushers, maybe like TJ Watt, is the league was allowing a lot more holding. It's a fact. They were allowing a lot more holding. They're doing so many things that really take away pressure, sacks, make the job easier for the quarterback to protect the quarterback. And that makes it harder for pass rushers to get pressure and sacks. You see those numbers were way down. But it also makes it an insane amount harder for cornerbacks. They got to cover way longer. Cornerback is debatably the hardest position to play, specifically man coverage in the NFL, and the length that these guys have to cover for and what they're able to do. But be a lockdown guy, be that feared. I got to give the corner some love here, and I'm really, I consider the top 3 guys for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going Jalen Ramsey. You guys go TJ Watt. TJ Watt was my pick about halfway through the season. Still finished great. Yeah, people would kind of just look at the pressures and the sacks. I kind of look at a lot more than that. There's a lot of plays that he won't technically make on the box score. He doesn't make them, but he creates them. So many of those plays. So that's why TJ Watt, and that's why Aaron Donald too. Aaron Donald, well deserving. He creates for his teammates, Jalen Ramsey, but I think he creates for guys like Michael Brockers, like Leonard Floyd, seem having a career year, something he couldn't do with Khalil Mack, who was an all-time great. Somehow he's able to do it playing outside of Aaron Donald. So more credit to Aaron Donald, more credit to that coaching staff, credit to Jalen Ramsey in those categories as well. Locking down the coverage definitely helps those guys, gives those guys more time to get after the quarterback. So Aaron Donald deserving, TJ Watt deserving, Xavier Howard deserving, Jair Alexander deserving, Myles Garrett sure. I'm going Jalen Ramsey for the reasons I explained. It's kind of weird to have 2 options up here as the picks, and we don't see Aaron Donald. He's ridiculous. The guy is just plain and simple ridiculous. In general, the best defensive player in football going into any year pretty much. Did he do anything like out of this world this year, that we haven't seen? I guess that's it's kind of funny because he's done so much in his career where it's just like, okay, yeah, that's just Aaron Donald, I thought this was Jalen Ramsey's best season. He's had some really good ones. Keep in mind, coming into the league, was he a safety? Was a corner? We knew he'd play both at a high level, but which one was he? So pretty cool to be, see him playing the much harder position corner at the highest level in an era where corners typically fail. So yeah, respect there. Offensive Player of the Year, so the best non-quarterback. We're in agreement. Derrick Henry, definitely up for the actual, most valuable player, MVP, just because what he does. Sometimes he puts a lot of time he puts the team on his back. Teams can know they're running. Teams can stack the box. They can't stop him. The hardest guy to tackle in football. Just ripping off how many runs that were just the game. Just a ridiculous amount of them. The combination of pretty much everything you ask from a running back is ridiculous. You guys had a 58.7% Derrick Henry. Next most was Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce up there. You could throw Dalvin Cook in there as well. So some really good offensive players today's game. I think it was Derrick Henry. With Alvin Kamara, I'm surprised Alvin Kamara wasn't second. What he's able to do as a running back and as a receiver, like combining, pretty ridiculous. If you combine both those categories, he's probably the best in football. So I'm surprised by the 4% only. Thought he would get more. But yeah, Adams and Diggs, Travis Kelce was right there with those receivers production. But yeah, those guys had a ridiculous year. Adams was we knew he was a very good receiver for quite some time now, actually. Got Rodgers throwing him, and we kind of wonder, though, is this guy elite? Are we ready to put him at the very top? It's kind of a question, And now, I think this was his best year, and now we're just saying he's the best receiver in football, plain and simple. So that shows how good of a year that was. Stephon Diggs, he was great with the Vikings, but he goes to a more of a pass-heavy team, pass-first team, a team that wants to launch the ball downfield, and you see him take that extra step, and the combination of big playability, the route running, which is so important for receivers. So yeah, these guys are deserving as well, but we're in agreement with Derrick Henry here. Offensive Rookie of the Year, this is a tough one. I went with Justin Jefferson. And the fans went with Justin Herbert, so I'm glad that we kind of had a split here because these two guys, and we see they both kill it in the poll there. So Herbert just edges out Jefferson 49.6 to 44.8. Both record-breaking performances this year. Jefferson broke one that no one had really expected. We didn't expect Justin Herbert to be able to do this, except for Tyrod Taylor starting week 1, so that made it interesting as well. I guess really maybe the flaw in if Justin Jefferson wins, which was my pick, but I guess there could be a flaw in maybe not picking Herbert, and that would be part of the explanation to pick Jefferson is Herbert did have some games where, earlier in the year he was impressive. I mean, the whole way he was impressive, but earlier in the year, like, don't get me wrong, he was very impressive, but there was a lot of, at the end of games, you kind of throw this interception or a bad throw, at the end, I think Anthony Lynn, the coaching staff, might have hurt them more than the quarterback play, but still have those moments. And there was Patriots game. There was some games down the stretch, but the flaw in that is quarterback is way more likely to kind of have a bump in the road game, but he still was ridiculous. Even in those games, he was still good in pretty much every single one of them. I'm gonna go Jefferson. I think Jefferson. I think he's changing. Even you can say like a guy like Diggs, what he's been able to do with his footwork, his route running ability the last couple of years. But a guy like Jefferson, I think he's changing on how teams assess and draft receivers. You're going for these guys that have experience playing slot outside, successful against zone and man, not just really good at one, not against the other. Making instead of, he's really fast too, but instead of speed and strength at the top, we got to move footwork. Route running ability and coverage recognition, recognizing defenses at the top when evaluating receivers. So I think some receivers in the past couple years kind of been helping shift towards that, but I think Jefferson kind of puts the icing on the cake. So for those reasons, I think a little more change in the game here. I'm gonna go Justin Jefferson. Very tight, both deserving. A lot of people saying they got to split, and I understand. Yeah, I understand why, but I don't know if they can split it. You got to pick one here. We'll see what they decide. It's going to be interesting how many votes goes to each, but those are definitely the two guys. We're going to be in agreement on this one. Defensive Rookie of the Year, both going Chase Young from the Washington Football Team. This one was kind of expected going into the year. One of the better pass rush prospects of some time. Just a freaky dude. 84.1% says Chase Young. Next was Jeremy Chin, who was an excellent playmaker. Surprising how good he was right away, because he was a guy that Southern Illinois, they played him all over the place, but they played him more at free safety. Majority of his snaps, I think 40+% were at free safety. So that kind of made it tough, for evaluators. It was kind of like, he's not a free safety. He didn't look that great there, to be honest. Looked solid, draftable, obviously. But we knew what he was, but it's still kind of a tough pick. So credit to the Panthers for recognizing and being confident there. And he was excellent right off the bat, so you got to give credit there. But Chase Young, absolute monster. I think where he's underrated, maybe underappreciated, is his run-stopping ability. It's already one of the best defensive ends in football, edge rushing defensive ends, in terms of stopping the run. He's up there at the top, like already on par with guys like Khalil Mack. It's Brandon Graham. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and he's just getting better as a pass rusher. Can't wait to see the future with Chase Young, Montez Sweat. I was also high on Montez Sweat a couple years ago. So yeah, that was a pretty obvious one. We're gonna go back to back with all Washington Football Team players here. Comeback Player of the Year. Yeah, we really didn't have to think about this one too much. Alex Smith wins it. He's going to win it. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. 87.4% says him. A couple other pretty solid options too. Talk about only a guy that only got 2%. Jason Verrett. Just when he came out of TCU, like, this is a damn good corner, and then you see him play in the NFL. This is a really good corner. Maybe going to be the best in football, and he just kept getting hurt then. And just kept getting hurt. It just felt like it was all done for him. So, Switch's team been able to stay healthy for the most part and play very well. You got to respect that. But yeah, Alex Smith. The thing I just think of first with this is I had so many people this offseason ask me, whether it was Twitter or YouTube, ask me if Alex Smith was going to play this year, and I didn't even hesitate. I told him no. I said no because I thought there's no shot he's going to be able to play this year. I was looking forward to maybe another year, and even if he did think he can play, I just didn't think there was any shot a coach or anybody would put him in there this early. And he played majority this year. He looked pretty solid, got his team to the playoffs, so he took some hits. The offensive line wasn't the best. So it was very cool to see. Definitely a moment for anybody that's a football fan. I know probably people that aren't football fans. So pretty ridiculous, obvious choice there. Excited to see what he's got in the playoffs here. Coach of the Year, went with Kevin Stefanski. I thought this was somewhat of an easy choice. The fans pick looks like it's going to be Stefanski. That poll is still going on. So you go to our Twitter. That's how you vote for all these things. You're going to be voting for picks for each playoff matchup every step of the way. You guys are going to be involved in videos like this going forward. So go follow at Goathouse NFL. But yeah, our poll guy, the guy who posts the polls, makes the polls, kind of messed it up a little bit. There was kind of 2 polls, so it's still going on, but no big deal. It looks like it's going to be Stefanski, but Matt LaFleur, Ron Rivera are in the finals for the poll for that. Yeah, those guys definitely deserve some credit as well. For me, it was between Stefanski, Brian Flores, Sean McDermott, a little more of that. LaFleur, those guys deserve credit. LaFleur, again, they had to figure out how to get more offense going after last year, so that, they figured it out, so that's impressive. Stefanski, though, got the Browns to the playoffs. The players did as well. Front office, sure. But yeah, he got the Browns to the playoff. The unthinkable there. Those are some questions, coming from Minnesota. Remember, the Vikings were a pretty good team. They didn't make the playoffs without him, even though their offense was really good still this year. But there was some questions because there was a lot of conservative play calling for the Vikings last year. It was just run until we die. That's pretty much what it was. So you kind of worry about that, but it was a really good balance, and he kind of opened up his playbook even more. Play calling was good, added some, trickery. That's what I liked. It felt like, these type of offenses, run first, a lot of play action, offenses. It looks like they stick to almost like a handbook. There's a handbook on how to run, running this offense, for dummies, and they act like they have to follow it. I feel like a lot of those coaches do that in those systems. But he completely the opposite. He took his own philosophy there, went outside the box, and that was a huge part of why, the Browns are where they are. And he's making Baker Mayfield a better quarterback, so I think it's the right system for him, and he looked pretty good at it. So, yeah, I thought it was definitely Stefanski there. Moving on. Best offense on the year. I went with the Chiefs. You guys went with the Packers. Yeah, this is debatable with any of the teams we put up there. The Ravens are starting to come alive late, so they could be considered as well. The Packers and Bills are probably a little hotter as of recently here. I still went with the Chiefs though. This offense is it just they make defenses completely change. I know defenses have to adjust for all these teams. Especially the Packers, the Bills, but the Chiefs really you almost got to change your entire defense and do what you got to do it doesn't usually work for you. Just because how much they spread the field out, how good Mahomes is, how good the play calling, the creativity is. So I went with the Chiefs on that one. But yeah, it's you could debate. The Titans too. How much balance? The Packers got a good amount of balance too. But in terms of passing and running game, people say the running game's dying, and the Titans are keeping that alive. Good play calling there. And their defense was pretty bad, so their offense really carrying that defense. So you can debate the Titans for those reasons as well. I went with the Chiefs, though. And then we got defense. We both went Rams, myself and the fans. It's tough leaving the Steelers out here. Really close. You see that poll down there. It's all really close. Steelers were the best for a chunk of the season, I'd say, if they didn't get a couple injuries, mainly Bud Dupree, and they probably would have been the best defense. Those injuries hurt them, but yeah, the Rams were very, very good defense this year as well. So I went with the Rams. Combination. I think the way they get pass rush, they get pressure in multiple different ways, blitzing from interior, from the edge, disguising coverages very well. Some dominant play in the secondary. Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill, all these guys. John Johnson played great. A lot of these guys played great. So a complete defense. You never know what they're throwing at you. Steelers definitely, you can talk about them too. Yeah, Washington was great. Saints had the middle of the season, the Saints felt like the best in football, so they deserve some credit as well. And they were kind of adjusting some things too. So you like the teams that could adjust, not just staying the same and getting, figured out. So yeah, went with the Rams. So did you guys. Best team of the regular season. We both went with the Chiefs. Chiefs 43%. Yeah, they lost one game this year. It's against a team they got to play twice, keep in mind. That's almost better on the resume. You probably would rather go undefeated against the divisional teams, but what looks better, I think if you lost to a team you got to play twice because you try to think differently. You try to give different looks, so that could happen. It happens all the time. So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous what they're able to do, how they're able to throw teams off, and they're just they don't fall asleep. They don't fall asleep ever. I know they had some games where they didn't score maybe as many points as we thought they would, but they won the game. They figure out how to clutch up in the end. When they need to make a play, they make a play. So, they don't go cold for a second. They don't go cold. That's why they're there. They have the best record in football this year. That's why they're defending champs. We'll see if they can go back-to-back. So, yeah, that was a pretty easy choice based on the regular season. But now we're starting fresh. Now we're starting new. The regular season really doesn't mean anything. It means nothing at this point. So really excited for the playoffs. We're going to have you covered here on YouTube. Already do, and we'll have more coverage, recap on Monday, and we'll have you covered live during the games on Twitter. So follow that Twitter to get way more involved here, and it'd be much appreciated if you can check that out. Check everything else out. Link in the description, comments. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you didn't get the chance to vote, go ahead in the comments, get down there, and make your picks. Leave it in the comments. We'll see it. It's gonna do it for this one though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.